Welcome to today's reading. Today's reading will be a collective reading. We will be using the Waite Tarot. So we'll get started and see what we have come up. I'm hoping everybody's doing as well as they can be. I would like to take a moment to point out the candle that I'm using for today's reading is actually a candle that one of my beautiful friends has made. She actually does make candles. And it is really long lasting. It has a beautiful scent, just a really high quality product. But I do notice the things that she makes actually are quite high vibrational as well. So when I use them, I actually notice it lift my vibration, which is lovely, as if we couldn't get enough of that already. Anyway, moving on. Do you want one more card? No. Okay, so we'll move that. What are we going to do with this? Are we taking another card first? No. Okay. So we're starting off with strength. We've got temperance and the 5 of cups. I'm just getting that you've come from a time where you've had to embody a lot of strength and now you're finding balance on your journey. But I get the sense that when you think back about the past, there's definitely some sense of grief or some sense of loss, like even if it's not grief itself. Yeah. It's like it's one of those, it gives me the feeling of one of those things in life that's happened, and no matter how many years it's been or how many times we think we've worked through it, it still continues to come up. And I think you probably just don't give yourself enough credit here with either the work that you've done or how far you've come, that it's, I don't even know what to say, because it's like the loss is always going to be there. It's always going to keep coming up. It's just going to be easier to deal with over time. It gives me the sense of like we sort of find other good things in life that fill us up, and after a while it sort of gradually gets better. And I mean, sometimes I'm just feeling called to talk about grief, but sometimes grief can almost be like the tides or the waves of the ocean, where the wave comes in and it crashes down and then it slowly sinks back out, and then it like comes in again and gets us, and it just sort of keeps doing that. And maybe eventually the tide actually goes out, or the waves aren't as heavy, and it does gradually become less and less. I feel like I don't need to be the person to tell you that you'd be surprised what you can endure, because I feel like you already know that. Yeah. Maybe there was, with this finding balance, there was also a sense of getting in touch with, I want to say the astral realms. And if it wasn't the astral realms, just maybe a sense of spirituality or spirit or the universe in some way. So it's like, I think you understand this. I don't know if there's much here. What is it? This is really weird, so take it or leave it. Like, maybe just take it with a grain of salt. Sometimes I get like weird little riddly type messages and they don't make sense to me. So we'll put it out there. Hopefully it helps somebody, but for most of us, maybe just ignore it. But they're saying something about not all that glitters is gold and not all that is red is blood. So like maybe it's sort of that sense of like, maybe not everything is a downfall, or not everything is bad, or a person leaving our lives is not always a loss sometimes, but we may get triggered from previous loss putting us back into that state where we sort of think, or we get stuck in those old feelings from a different person. But maybe whatever this loss is maybe not such a bad thing. Yeah, I feel like there's some sort of weird silver lining there. And it's one of those things that if this is some sort of, I get the sense or the feeling in this reading that whatever this loss was is something that's happened, like, I want to say ages ago or years ago, a while ago. Like, it doesn't feel super recent. The only thing is if what you were grieving, and I think for some of you it was a person. I don't know if it's just a person leaving your life or a person leaving the earth, but life in general. But I mean, that sort of stuff can be really heavy and it can be really hard. And I don't know, where I live in Australia, people still weirdly don't want to talk about death and losing people, and I don't think it's taboo, but people are uncomfortable about it, where it's one of those things that, like, it can end up being more isolating going through a period of grief, because other people either don't understand it, don't want to talk about it because they haven't dealt with it within themselves, but then we sort of lose our sense of, like, community and support, which is really sad, because it's one of the times that we probably need the most support ever. I mean, it's not all bad when we have our periods of isolation, because some of the most beautiful parts of ourselves and the best growth and development that we can come out with happen during those times. Okay, so it's not definitely getting something here about judgment, even though we don't have, like, the judgment card, where it's like, it's not necessarily good, not necessarily bad, it's just that it is. It just is. And it doesn't, when a person died, doesn't mean it was good or bad, it just was the fact that they died. For those of you that are maybe actually struggling here with any sort of mental health or grief, I highly recommend seeking, if you're not already, the appropriate medical profession, maybe like talk therapy or something like that. We don't always have to do that, but for those of you that think that you're feeling the challenges, that may be worthwhile. I also find, outside of that, with this group, I feel particularly called to not necessarily, it's like one thing to mention for like a disclaimer that you should always seek out the appropriate professional help, but it's another thing that acknowledging we are human, and that sometimes the things that help us don't always look the same way. And so I think this is where things like energy healing, like Reiki or kinesiology, or some sort of like meditation, and there are other world ways of sometimes getting to similar places, and I think that it would just be like, if you can find any good way that you can support yourself in this point in time. And when I say good, what I mean by supporting yourself and it being a good thing is that you're looking after your well-being, okay? Whether that's talk therapy, building or seeking community and support, doing and like receiving some sort of energy healing, doing meditation, taking quiet time to yourself to be in the present moment and be mindful of what's happening. And spend time connecting to the earth. Like, if nothing else, put your hands on the earth, on the ground, on the grass, and just let anything in you out. Let it go into the earth, and maybe take up whatever the earth has to offer you in return, and really ground yourself in the moment. And maybe sometimes it's just letting ourselves sit with the feelings and letting ourselves be a mess. Maybe sometimes it's letting ourselves cry. Maybe it's like, maybe we just want to take time away from people so that we can, cry. Like, if you don't want to, sometimes we feel too awkward to, like, let ourselves really get in our emotions too much when there's other people around. Sometimes one of the only best things we can do is let ourselves, like, actually grieve, or actually feel things, or actually process things in a way. So I do have a sense here too where I feel like you are protected during this time. So even if things aren't or haven't been great, maybe they're good now, but maybe they just haven't always been, I feel like you're definitely at a stage in life where you have a little bit extra protection than maybe what you have had previously, where you'll sort of been looked after. Oh, I don't know what that looks like. It'll be different for everyone. Some of you, it'll be a passed over loved one, which it could be very relevant to this particular group. So this is like a collective reading, right? This is for anybody that finds this. I trust that it finds you at the right time. But when you watch it, it's supposed to be relevant at that point in your life. And I mean, if it doesn't fit, don't make, like, just don't apply it if it doesn't fit your situation. Just, maybe it's not the one for you, or maybe you'll come back to it in a year or two's time and it will fit. Yeah. There's a sense of just letting yourself grieve, letting yourself be upset, letting yourself feel the things. And I think the only thing I can say is to be mindful that we don't get stuck here. Because, you know, life is like hard, and we do fall into different times of like despair and an upheaval and, you know, emotional, I don't know if I'm trying to say outlay or outrage or something like that. But I think as long as we're aware of it and we feel it and we let ourselves move through it, and then at some point we start to move on from it and look to, you know, the good things in our lives or the other things happening. And I get the sense of just wanting to really like bring in things that bring me joy, and, you know, expand on current interests and learning, and being around people that make us feel good. And where, you know, it can be two things. They can be really just supportive, lovely people, and they might be really fun as well. And if you can get people that do both, then that's amazing. Yeah, I do feel like this group could greatly benefit from a sense of community or like strong family if you don't have that. Sometimes we need to be the ones to put ourselves out there and search for it. And you know, Facebook, as much, you know, the internet, as much as I can be averse to technology, here we all are using it, right? The tools at our disposal are amazing. And whether it is just searching on the internet or things like Facebook, and you can find like local events that are built around connection, or maybe you can even find groups where it is like an emotional support group for people struggling with grief or something like that. Because it's one thing to know we're going through it, it's another thing to know somebody else is going through it, and it's another thing to, you know, maybe find support at the same time, okay? So, yeah. I feel the need to let you know that just because these things will continue to come up over time, or maybe you're in the thick of something old coming up at this point, even if it's not related to grief, it may just, you know, something that you're looking back on from the past that didn't pan out how we wanted it to, okay? It doesn't mean that there's like anything wrong with you. It doesn't mean that you're extra sensitive, and it doesn't mean that you haven't made peace with it or that you haven't done work on it. It's just that sometimes when things happen in life that are pretty full scale, we're like kind of forever changed from it, and they will continue to affect us for years. And all we can do is embrace like the water of life, or the movement or the flow of life. Like, all we can do is just accept it and do the best we can during those times, do what we can to support ourselves in those times, and just move through it and then move on from it. And then, you know, you might go, I don't know, I guess it depends how far, excuse me, how far this, I get the sense that this would be hard for you to talk about too, okay? But, you know, depending how far down your timeline you are, you know, it could be a month, or it could be like 5 years before this comes up again. So I feel like you're actually doing really well, and you probably don't realize how well you're doing, and you need to be told. And that's probably what the main reason for this message is today, is that you probably don't give yourself enough credit, or yeah, maybe have a little bit more self-work or something around that. But they're also highlighting the yellow, and it's that like solar plexus energy, and it's, you know, a little bit of self-trust, but it's like that confidence, knowing that you've done what you can and that you handled it really well, and that just trusting, you know. It also, it's like that sense of like, you know how I was talking about, you know, spending time outside, and if you can put your hands on the earth. I feel like if you could ground for this group would be really good, because it's like we don't, I'm lost for words now, I'm trying to talk about it, but if you can do what you can to ground yourself or stay grounded during these times, it would be phenomenal for you. Yeah. Okay, so moving on, we're going to take a card from the Barbieri Zodiac Oracle. Okay, we have Jupiter. Jupiter can come up as expansion, luck. Do get a sense of creativity with maybe art or something like that, but also a sense of like, it doesn't strike me as a particular like psychic card, if you will. It can be just being in touch, like in a spiritual nature, where it is like, but the feeling that I'm getting for, okay, sorry, just getting a couple things at once. What I'm trying to say is that normally for this card, I don't see it as one that has to do with intuition and spirituality, although Jupiter can be representative of those energies. During this reading for you right now, for this collective group, I feel like it actually can be you doing things in the form of art or creativity that have actually been pulled through, or you're grounding them into reality, things that are being channeled, where maybe you're like painting a picture, but it was actually like a channeled vision of what you're painting. And I think when we talk about that, it can be hard to tell the difference sometimes between our imagination and something channeled that we see. So I guess you can just trust that like whatever you do is going to be like lovely or wonderful or expansive anyway. And I am getting a hint here with this Jupiter card that it is also prosperity as well. So maybe it's kind of like a prosperity in your creative endeavors. It can be passion as well, but we're going to read from the book on this card and just see if we get something that we haven't covered that may apply to you. And if anything doesn't apply, just leave it. You don't have to make it fit. So we have Jupiter is associated with the Roman god Jupiter, ruler of heaven and earth, thought of as a fair and just protector. Jupiter is often thought of as the planet of luck and expansion. The desire to understand the bigger picture, to prosper, and to experience joy are a big part of Jupiter's influence. Optimism, faith, and spirituality play roles in these issues. So it's kind of that message of like, you know, there was confirmation there on like the spirituality side and the prosperity and expansion. It's just kind of like highlighting to me that joy probably needs to be a bigger part for you at this time. So I don't know why I was getting creativity, but maybe you're a creative person and maybe that's where your joy comes from, because it actually doesn't mention creativity anywhere here in the book. And I've actually not long ago finished doing a different collective reading, and Jupiter came out there as well. So I do wonder if there's something in the astrology at the moment where Jupiter's like in conjunction to something specific for you, or yeah, I don't really know enough about the astrology, but maybe there's something else playing out there. Okay, so we're also going to take a Chakra Love card. We're only wanting one, not half a deck. Two, okay, we can do that. So we have manifestation is the fruition of confidence and belief with topaz. So you can get like a pale yellow topaz that's almost like citrine looking, I guess. You don't need to go out and buy a gem or a crystal for this. You can try manifestation techniques at home that may actually help you with this confidence and, you know, beliefs and whatnot as well. Yeah. it's kind of one of those things that we want to picture it or see what it would feel like when we envision it, and then just let it go, forget about it, don't be attached to it, and just move on with life. And then you know, I'm sure there's things you can do in the day-to-day that might help you with it, but as far as manifestation goes, we want to be able to not be attached to the outcome and let it go. Now also for the other card, we have the third eye chakra with dreams. Dreams are where your mind translates the divine. So even if you don't feel like a particularly intuitive or spiritual person, your dreams may be significant here as well. Okay. Any more cards? Nope. All right. Well, this is everything that I have for today's collective reading. I hope that it resonated for you and was helpful in some way. Thank you for being here with me. Like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll see you in another reading. Bye.